Welcome back to the ESBR YouTube channel. Today I'm delighted to be bringing you a preview of this Saturday's fight camp card. I'm also delighted to be joined by ESBR Boxing's Elliot and Paul. How are you guys?
All good. How's it going?
Yeah,
All good, thanks, mate. All good.
Good. So obviously we've got the first week of fight camp coming up on this Saturday. It's also quite a big moment as it's Matchroom's first UK show on DAZN UK. So firstly, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on DAZN UK, the card on Saturday. So how do you think DAZN will do in the UK? Are you guys looking forward to it?
For me to start, I am looking forward to it. Obviously, they've been at Sky for a long time, Matchroom and Eddie, and going back to Barry, but times are changing, aren't they? We see more things now. It's all on smart TVs and apps like Netflix and everything. So I think it's just going with the times, and that's probably the good thing about having Eddie Hearn as the main man at Matchroom. You know, he's a lot younger than maybe other promoters and other people in the same job as him. So he kind of is with the times a bit more, definitely. And I think that it'll work. I know at the minute it's only $1.99 for his own subscription. I'm sure that'll increase as time goes on. But for the meantime, yeah, I think it's a great idea, great concept, especially if you have access to, obviously you can watch it on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, your TV. So I don't really see a downside to it as such as of yet. Obviously it probably won't have the viewing figures as he used to on Sky, but he'll expect that, but he'll try obviously his best to build it up and build it up. So to start off with, yeah, I'm happy enough with the DAZN UK.
Elliot, what have you made of obviously they had the announcement of all the production team, everyone who's on board with DAZN. What have you made of those appointments?
Yeah, no, I think exciting is the key word from what Paul said. I think the team is different. It's very different to Johnny Nelson and Adam Smith. That's for sure. But no, I think it's good. I think people, as exciting as it is, I think people are going to need to be patient because it's brand new, so everything's not going to be absolutely perfect on Saturday night. So yeah, boxing fans are going to need to be a bit patient. I know people are going to be as critical as possible on social media, on Twitter. I think we all know that. But it is what it is. It's a new era for boxing in this country, and it's exciting. We're just, from an outsider's perspective, interested to see how they do things on the production side of things, on the post-fight side of things. But yeah, just what I'm hoping is that they put their own spin on things and do something different to the coverage that we've had from Sky over the last 15, 20 years. Yeah, that's what I'm after. Just something a bit different, really. But yeah, I'm feeling optimistic about the whole thing.
And I think Fight Camp's probably the perfect place to start the DAZN UK and Matchroom. I think in Eddie Hearn's back garden, I think there's no better place to really kick it off, and he's going to put on a good show. So now we'll actually get on to the boxing. So in this video, we're going to discuss a lot of the fights and especially the main event. So firstly, I just want to get your guys' thoughts on a under the radar fight, a fight that maybe social media or people aren't talking about as much, that you think will actually be a really good fight on the night. Paul, what's your under the radar fight?
So my under the radar fight is Anvi Yildirim against Jack Cullen. We were discussing this before, and I think it'll be a great fight because there's a relative unknown to it. We don't know what Yildirim's ambitions are. Now he's had a big payday from the Canelo fight. He's probably had big paydays from when he was in the Super Series and the Darrell fight. So we obviously don't know what his ambitions are or where he's at. But then again, he's only lost to the best guys, and he's fighting Jack Cullen now. On the other side, he might see it as great opportunity for him to get his name, get himself back to winning ways, and put his name back up the rankings at super middleweight. And then from Jack Cullen's perspective, it's a big opportunity for him. It would be a massive name on his record because looking down Yildirim's record, he lost to Darrell, he lost to Eubank Jr., he lost to Canelo, but he lost to Jack Cullen as well. Who's this Jack Cullen fella? It'll get him a lot more exposure as well, especially on as we mentioned it before, the first DAZN Matchroom card. So I think that fight I actually do think it'll be a good fight as well. Might be cagey to start off with, it could be wrong, but I do think that at some stage, depending on how the fight's going, Cullen might have to bite down on the gum shield and give it to Yildirim, or Yildirim, on the other hand, might think, right, come on, I'm not in with Canelo now. I can win this fight. So I think that makes for a really good fight.
Do you have a prediction, Paul?
Oh, you
I think Yildirim will win.
Betting video.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we'll have to watch that, won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we discussed in the betting video. Sam thinks Yildirim is a really live underdog, and I agree. I think Yildirim will win. He is it's nearly 50-50, but he is the underdog, so I think the smart money would be on Yildirim.
Cool, because last time I looked at the odds, they looked pretty even. So there's money there to be won if you've got a definitive prediction. But no, it's good choice. Really looking forward to that one.
How much weight do you put into Yildirim's fight against Canelo? Obviously, I think it's not the losing to Canelo that was the problem. I think it was the way in which he lost to Canelo that people will be a bit more skeptical on. How much weight do you put into that performance?
Yeah, that's a good point. Really didn't throw a punch, did he?
No, he was basically a punch bag.
Yeah, see that. But then again, he's probably thinking to himself, this is Canelo, oh dear.
Yeah.
Whereas now he's not going to be thinking like that with Jack Cullen. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but he probably hasn't heard of Jack Cullen before the fight got offered to him. So he might be thinking, right, this is an opportunity to get back in there. So you don't know what Yildirim you're going to get. We could be wrong, and Jack Cullen could bingo him in a few rounds, but it's unlikely. I think Yildirim is a live underdog, and I do think hopefully we at least get a good fight.
I think it'll be a really good test for Cullen. It really will show where he sits in the world rankings. Elliot, what's your under the radar fight for this weekend?
Yeah, so although it's a world title fight, I feel like Lee Word versus Kanju from China has gone slightly under the radar when you consider it is a world title fight. Obviously, it only got announced a couple of weeks ago, and if we're being honest, you know, if Lee Wood were to win on Saturday, he's probably would be one of the most unknown world champions we've had in this country in recent history in terms of profile. But I think he's a great fighter. I personally think he's got a good chance. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to need to be a career best performance if he's going to pull it off. But no, I think he's got. I don't see why he can't do it. It's in his country. Obviously, he's been winning a few fights by stoppage recently. Had a very close fight against Jazza Dickens, who's of course fighting for a world title in a couple of weeks. So yeah, look, I'm not gonna make any promises that he's definitely going to do it. But no, I think he's a live underdog as well for sure.
How much weight do you put into the fact that Kanju hasn't fought since, I know me and Paul were talking about it, since January of 2019? Obviously, that's, especially for a world champion, that's a long time out of the ring. How much weight do you put into that?
For sure. I think that's a factor when you consider that Lee Woods has boxed in that period. To not box for that long and then to go into a world title fight against someone who's as good. I think what they're doing is they think that Lee Wood is perhaps a softer touch than other options. So they picked him and then they'll move on to a bigger fight, possibly Josh Warrington early next year or something like that. But no, I think it can be an issue. That's a long time outside the ring. And I think one thing about Lee Wood is he's 32. He's had a couple of losses. If he doesn't win on Saturday, then it's unlikely he'll get another opportunity at world level, in my opinion. So going up against someone who's kind of, I don't want to say got nothing to lose, but it's kind of all or nothing for them. I think it's very, very, very dangerous.
For me, the only reason Golden Boy send Kanju to the UK to fight Lee Wood is looking at the future and the next step from Lee Wood. I don't think you send him to such a dangerous fight in the UK unless you've got a plan. Well, I'd hope anyway. Maybe it's Oscar De La Hoya, who knows? Maybe he doesn't have a plan. But, I personally would not send a world champion to the UK unless there's pretty good assurances that you will get those fights with the other fighters on Matchroom's stable. Otherwise, I think he's too live. Lee Wood's too talented and too good to just send him over here thinking he's going to walk through him and it'd be a warm-up fight and send him back to America and fight in the US, because he's not going to get much US coverage from this fight because of when it is. It's going to be midday. He's not the biggest name in America. So to me, that's the only reason he's fighting Lee Wood on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I also think, I know there was rumours of the Josh Warrington fight happening a year ago or so, and for whatever reason that didn't happen, and what happened to Josh Warrington happened. But the more I think about it, the more I think that Golden Boy ascending Kanju here to get the win, get some exposure in the UK, hoping that Josh Warrington wins in a few weeks, and then it makes their fight even bigger than it was anyway. I could be looking into it a bit too much, but I think that's a possibility. But boxing doesn't really work like that a lot of the time if you kind of have too many ifs and buts.
Yeah, I think they're both probably. I think that fight is under the radar in terms of we could have another British world champion. I don't think the mainstream really know that and really understand how big a fight this is for Lee Wood. And then obviously with the Yildirim and Cullen fight, that again has so many interesting factors in it as well. In terms of fight of the night, so if we're on our review show on Sunday morning, Elliot, what do you predict we'll be saying what a fight, like great fight?
Oh man, I think I'd lean towards Tommy McCarthy and Chris Billam-Smith. I think it's either that or the main event, the Conor Benn fight. I think McCarthy and Billam-Smith, I think it's a genuine 50-50. I think both fighters have looked really good in their last couple of fights. Got, what is it, 3 belts on the line, something like that. There's a lot on the line. I think it's the winner, the winner is could be in world title contention for the next 12 months. The loser kind of obviously has to rebuild. So for me, McCarthy, Billam-Smith, I wouldn't want to pick a winner personally. But yeah, I'm hoping that's going to be fight of the night. I think it really should be.
Paul's picked a winner already, quite confidently.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah. He's put his neck on the line.
Trying to think. Okay, I'm trying to predict what I think Paul's prediction is. Has he gone? Oh, okay. Has he gone with McCarthy?
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was. Sorry, it was a surprise. Fine. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? I can't say I'm shocked at Paul's prediction, but yeah, I can't pick one. I like both fighters. I think Billam-Smith. I'm interested. I think Billam-Smith's very powerful at the weight, and I know McCarthy's been stopped before, so could read a little bit into that. But tough, man, really tough. But yeah, all in all, just hope it's a good fight.
Paul, what about you? What do you think will be the fight of the night on Saturday?
I know Eliot's just talked about the fight being his under the radar fight, and that's the one I think he thinks it could be under the radar. Well, it could be under the radar, and it could be fight of the night because that's my fight of the night. Lee Wood, Kanju. Kanju hasn't fought in a long, long time, but he'll come forward. He won't have to go looking for Lee Wood. Won't have to go looking for him, and Lee Wood is on a really good knockout run. 5 of his last 5 winning fights, he's won all inside the distance. So he's clearly carrying a bit of power. And you never know, if Kanju's coming forward and drops his guard a little too much, Lee Wood could land a hook like the one he did against Reece Mould. That was a devastating punch. And I just think it'll be a really good fight because Lee Wood will want to win so badly. And he knows himself he's the underdog, and he knows himself that a lot of people probably are writing him off. But that could put fuel in the fire and make him perform better than he possibly even thought he could. And then Kanju, on the other hand, you never know. He might be, as you have mentioned before, looking at the next fight already, which could be very dangerous and make for a really, really good fight.
And there are other fights than these 2 fights on the card, and I'll just run through them quickly. So you've got Anthony Fowler and Rico Muller. Campbell Hatton, again, in a fight with Jacob Laskowski. And Sandy Ryan makes her pro debut against Kirsty Babington. Of those 3 other undercard fights, do any of those stand out to you as an interest or?
Looking forward to seeing the debut of Sandy Ryan. I feel like we've heard a fair amount about her by now, and yeah, I don't know much about her opponent, if I'm honest, but looking forward to seeing her. Campbell Hatton, is he 2-0, isn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like he's going to be against a limited opponent, but interested to see how he gets on. But we're just really interested when he kind of decides to take when he takes a step up, whenever that's going to be. And the Fowler fight, I know it's a late reply. I think that his opponent got announced a couple of days ago. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't think they're going to I think Fowler's looked good recently, and fighting a late notice opponent, I question kind of how ready that person's going to be and how much of a threat that person's going to be. But we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, I echo what Elliot says. I'd be interested. It's always interesting to watch someone who's been talked about a lot making their professional debut. So Sandy Ryan, yeah, I'll be definitely tuning in for that. And Campbell Hatton, again, you'll just watch him. He's I know he's fighting people who are very unlikely going to beat him. But that he's only young. He's only young. He's got all the time in the world. Doesn't matter how. He's going to build his record, and he will get better. He'll get better. So it'll. With the Hatton name as well, you're just you kind of have to tune in, don't you, really? So I'm looking forward to that. And then when you mention Anthony Fowler, although I do think, yeah, he was meant to be fighting Garcia, and this is obviously a late replacement. After this, I've heard that we could be doing a all Liverpool Fowler versus Liam Smith fight at the M&S Arena in Liverpool. So that would be amazing if he can get through this. So this fight maybe doesn't tickle my fancy, but after that, Anthony Fowler could be in some really, really tasty fights.
Yeah, I think for me, the Sandy Ryan fight's going to be really interesting. Derby's own Sandy Ryan, another talent from Derby, to add to the many.
Yeah, I suppose if you're from Derby, you need something to shout about at the moment, the way the football club's going. Eh?
Yeah, this is a boxing video. Let's not talk. Even though Rooney does love the boxing, doesn't he?
Yeah, true.
And I think her opponent is quite relatively inexperienced in the pro ranks. I think she's only got 5 or 6 fights. So I think it'll be really interesting for her to make a big statement, especially with the way the women's game is going. It's on the up and up. And I think the more people like Sandy Ryan that can get back into the pro game from the amateurs, it's just better, isn't it? To be honest, the more talent we can get. And yeah, the other 2 fights don't really interest me. I'm not going to lie to you. The Campbell Hatton or the Anthony Fowler fight, I don't think either of them are going to be big contests. Anthony Fowler's no fault of his own, but I think there's so much talent on this card. Those two fights are kind of just will pass us by, and I don't think there'll be much to talk about them from Sunday morning onwards. So finally, obviously, you're going to talk about the main event. Conor Benn taking on Adrian Granados for the WBA Continental Welterweight title. So first, I just wanted to talk a bit more about Conor Benn as a fighter. Obviously, coming off that really, really impressive win over Vargas a couple of months ago. Will Conor Benn be the UK's next big star? Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say yes. He definitely. I think he'll be a big star. Don't know about next because you never know with people getting opportunities. But I do think he'll definitely become a star at one point or another. He's on his way to doing it already. He's got a big following. People like watching him. He looks really impressive. He's getting better and better and better. Like, think 2 years ago, someone mentioned Conor Benn and you thought, oh, he's not all that. Now you're like, yeah, I want to tune in and watch Conor Benn. So I do think he could be a worldwide star in the not so distant future.
In terms of matchmaking, Elliot, how do you think Matchroom have done putting him up against someone with the experience that Granados has?
Yeah, I don't want to be too critical, but I think they are matching him against fighters that are good, fighters that are experienced, fighters that will bring out the best in him, but they're not matching him against someone who he's got a really big chance of losing against, in my opinion. Like, I really like Conor Benn, don't want to be critical of him. I think they're perhaps fighting fighters who are made for him / past their sell-by date. And I think that's the case with Granados. I think he was a good fighter 3 or 4 years ago. And I just think if you look at his recent form, he's not had a lot of success. And I just think that kind of says something. I think it's a good fight for Conor Benn. I think he's being matched well. I don't see this as a gamble fight. I don't go into Saturday thinking, there's a good chance that Conor Benn could lose that fight. I don't see how he loses it, to be honest.
I think that's one of the reasons this is the first time we've actually spoken about the main event throughout this whole preview video, because it does feel like a pretty easy, comfortable win. And I think people will tune in to see how he wins, not if he wins. I think he needs another really dominant performance like his last one to really show that and just get people excited about Conor Benn, because I think they are close. We are close to having him as a big star, and a few more performances like that Vargas performance, and I think he really can, like you say, Paul, get to that next level. If you had to put a chance of Granados winning, what percentage would you guys put on that?
I mean, the only thing I'd say is that with Ben, there's still the feeling that he could walk into a shot, which he's done in the past. And I think he's someone who likes a bit of a war, can get a bit carried away. And yeah, there's a possibility he can walk into a shot. And if he was facing the Granados of 3 or 4 years ago, I'd say it's a 50-50 fight. But the Granados of these days, maybe there's a 10-15% chance that could happen. And yeah, that's the only way that happens, if Ben gets kind of carried away and walks into a shot and gets pushed over. But yeah, that's my verdict.
Paul, are you a bit more of a Granados believer, or are you on the same wavelength?
No, I wouldn't even go 10 or 15%. I'd maybe go 2, 3, 5% max. Echoing what Elliot said, Granados in his day. This would have been a good fight 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, you do look at his record, and he's been the distance with Robert Easter, Sean Porter, and Adrian Broner. Got stopped by Danny Garcia, but there's 4 really good games. Okay, he lost all 4, 3 on points. So maybe if Conor Benn stopped him, I think that would be pretty impressive. Early, make a bit of a statement, because Danny Garcia stopped him in 7, I believe. So if Conor Benn could finish him in the first quarter of the fight, the first 3 or 4 rounds, I think that would be not so much making a statement, because I expect him to finish him, but it would add another really good name to his record. I did actually think Vargas was a tougher test on paper than Granados, but then obviously he obliterated him in 2-3 minutes, the first round anyway. So I don't know if that'll happen again to Granados, but I don't see Granados posing a threat to Ben at all.
I do think one of the things Matchroom are really good at is putting their young stars up against fighters who've been in there with world-class opponents, because I think it does kind of add that even bigger skeptical of winning, because you can then put them in the same name as the Porters and the Broners if Ben wins on Saturday night. And I think it just kind of validates the win. Instead of someone at Granados' level who maybe hasn't been in with those names, by putting him in with a Granados who's been in with those names, it kind of just adds that validity to kind of the win for Conor Benn if he is victorious on Saturday. So I think if anyone else has anything to say about Saturday, I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah, not really. Just just looking forward. I think it's fight camp something a bit different, isn't it? But yeah, it feels like it's been a while since there's been a kind of a Matchroom card in the UK. And I feel like there was a Lewis Ritson one a few weeks ago, but I thought that was the kind of the last Sky show, so there was a lack of effort into that card, to be honest. So yeah, no, just looking forward to it. I think, in my opinion, it's one of the better undercards you're going to see. The main event, we'll see, but it's a good. There's potentially some really good fights in the undercard there. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it really does kick off the summer of boxing, really, the end of summer, but where we really can get into the boxing season. So Paul, Elliot, thank you for joining us. There will be a betting video with me and Paul on the channel that comes out on Thursday. So give that a watch if you want to see some live underdogs. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below and check out all the content. I know Paul as well has got a video interview with Lee Wood on the channel. It's really interesting to hear his thoughts on the Kanshu fight and the future as well. We really appreciate you watching. On Sunday, there'll be a review of the Saturday night card. So Elliot and Alan from ESBR Boxing will be on that show. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Paul and Elliot, again, and we'll see you later.